Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. My name is Diana and I am here to assist you on your journey of spiritual growth and personal development. And the idea of today's video actually came to me after I was doing my last video, which was a tarot reading about how do I find love. So basically that was a love focused reading. And what I realized was that, at least for some of you out there, there is something deeper going on. It is not just about love. There are some deeper issues, some deeper patterns operating there, and I really wanted to make this video to explain you the difference between love and something called attachment. So yes, indeed, this video is going to be about love versus attachment. So what exactly is attachment and why is it different from love? Basically, attachment is something that characterizes your very first relationship when you are born into this world. It is your relationship with your primary caregiver, your parent, your mother, whoever is taking care of you as a little baby. And the type of relationship that you have with your caregiver determines how you develop as a child, and it determines how you view yourself, the world, and also all your other intimate, close relationships as a grown-up. So that's why attachment and attachment theory is very important when it comes to understanding our personal happiness and ourselves in partnerships. Love, on the other hand, it's a feeling, right? It's an energy, and it exists independently of everything else. For me, love indicates a pure appreciation for something. Of course, many people will have many definitions of what love is, but what I want to make clear at this point is that love is something and attachment is something else. Attachment is something that you develop as a child, and love exists irrespective of how your primary relationships with your parents were. Let me now give you a personal example, okay? So I started my own spiritual journey and spiritual growth because I felt unhappy and unfulfilled, and I realized how conditioned my life was, and my wish was to know how unconditional love feels like and how it can change my life and also my relationships, because I am a kind of relationship type of person. I need to be in a relationship. So basically, I started to really consciously work through the darker aspects of my personality, and I engaged in different spiritual practices with the aim to achieve healing. And I really made some very good progress, to be honest, and I thought I had learned a lot about love. I thought I knew it, and I was looking forward to have that close and intimate relationship, partnership, through which I could finally experience unconditional love. Did it work? No, it did not work. That's the funny thing, it did not work. As soon as I got into that intimate relationship I was looking for, I was back to square one, as if I hadn't done anything at all, and as if all that healing meant nothing that I had been through. So I asked, why? What went wrong? And now I know that actually nothing went wrong. Everything was just the way it was supposed to be for me back then. I just didn't realize that I wasn't really healing my attachment style. I didn't know much about it. So I became really confused and upset about the results I was having in my life despite the work I had put in. And that brings me to the consequences of not understanding the difference between love and attachment. And bumping into a similar scenario that I just gave you with my personal example could potentially lead to two types of negative outcomes to you. Just like me, you could become frustrated and confused about all the work you have done on yourself, and you could even decide that it has been worthless and quit your spiritual practice altogether, even though that would be throwing the baby out with the bath water. And the other type of consequence could be that you could go to the other extreme altogether and decide that mundane relationships are not for you. And if you cannot meet that ideal and spiritually evolved person, you better stay by yourself and stay away from engaging in intimate relationships. But now let us talk a little bit more what types of attachment styles are there and how can you recognize them. So basically, we can split those into two categories. The first one is secure attachment, and the rest fall under the insecure attachment. So you have a secure attachment style if your parents or caregivers were attentive to your needs, available, comforting, and soothing, providing you a safe base to grow and explore the world from. Thus, you learned that you are worthy to have your needs met and that the world is also reliable to meet your needs. And as a result, you could develop a naturally healthy curiosity to explore the world, and you have a good self-confidence and you trust people, but at the same time you know when it is time to move on if the person doesn't fit you. When it comes to insecure attachment styles, though, we can distinguish three main types of them. The first one is the so-called avoidant attachment style, or it is also called dismissive. And the avoidant attachment style develops if parents are dismissive and not reliable in comforting their child. They may reject and neglect the child, and this in turn causes the child to learn that his or her parents cannot be trusted, and the child begins to associate close relationships with rejection. The child becomes self-sufficient and emotionally unavailable when it comes to his or her own intimate relationships. So basically with the people having this attachment style, there is this coldness, sort of. Their energetic signature is cold, and there is this distance, as if their intimacy muscle, so to speak, is underdeveloped. And they are very self-sufficient, and they like to be they like to be by themselves, and they don't mind not having close relationships in their lives. The next type of insecure attachment styles is anxious attachment. Well, you can find this attachment named in different ways, and it's also called resistant, ambivalent, or preoccupied. So it can be pretty confusing with those names, but I will call this the anxious attachment style. And basically this type of attachment develops if the parent of the child meets their needs in a very unpredictable manner. Sometimes they are there, sometimes they are not there, and the child has a hard time understanding what is the reason for this inconsistency. So as a result, they become preoccupied with their caregiver, and they shy away from exploring the world. This attachment style also develops if the parent fails to let the child become autonomous. And the child essentially cannot exist without their parent. And as adults, those people can be needy and clingy. They can experience increased fear of losing their partner, which can lead to such unhealthy behaviors as jealousy, control issues, clinginess, dependency, and they also tend to have low self-esteem. And lastly, we have something called disorganized or also fearful avoidant attachment style. So, this attachment style often develops as a result of trauma or abuse, and it is the most extreme case of insecure attachment styles, combining the worst of both worlds, of both styles um, I was talking about previously. And those children learn that their caregiver can be frightening or even violent, but at the same time, they need them to survive. So they depend on their caregiver for their survival, but at the same time, they are threatened by their caregiver. Um, the same happens if the child loses their parent, so they begin to associate love with loss, pain, and suffering. And such a childhood pattern results in adults who want love and connection, but at the same time are deeply afraid of one. There is a major internal conflict that they need to deal with, which often results in a very negative self-talk and inability to trust others and let them close. They often avoid relationships in fear of being rejected, which leads to great internal suffering. So now that you know what types of attachment styles are out there, um, you could start to ask, how do I find out which exactly is mine attachment style? And I'm about to give you a few tips on that. And the first one is that perhaps even just by listening to this video and reflecting on your usual relationship patterns can start to shed some light over what type of attachment style could be yours. And well, the most obvious sign to look at is whether you are generally satisfied with your relationships or not. If you are satisfied with your relationships, then it's very likely that you have a secure attachment style. But if not, if you are not happy with how your intimate relationships usually go, then take a closer look at your usual behavior and responses. Um, do you tend to avoid and reject close partnerships? If this is the case, that you may be thinking of avoidant attachment style. Or do you often have a feeling that your whole life depends on your partner and you have a hard time being alone because you are nothing without your partner? If that's you, you could be having anxious attachment style. Or maybe you long for love and connection, but you know that it is just not meant for you and you feel deeply hurt by that. And maybe you find it hard to open up and trust. So in this case, it could be an indication of you having disorganized attachment style. The best and the most reliable way, in my opinion, is to read and learn about attachment theory in general as much as you can, so that you can start to develop a comprehensive understanding about different attachment styles, and that will eventually help you discern which one is the most likely yours. And also, another thing is that sometimes it is not that straightforward, and you may actually find out that you have different attachment styles relative to different people or even types of relationships in your life, which can again be very confusing. And I would like to say that that is okay. I think it's a matter of understanding the different facets of how your early attachment and your early relationships affect your present day relationships, so that you can start to change that consciously if you feel the need to. And lastly, my third tip for learning about your attachment style is talking to a professional, so going to a therapist. Indeed, really getting at the heart of the matter is a long-term process that unfolds as you go, and the more you learn and reflect on your life and your behavior. So I firmly believe that therapy can be very, very useful in this journey. You really need that long-term process where you are able to get at the depth of your issue and your situation, and the therapist can also then really see what's going on for you. And it is a long-term relationship, which is, by the way, also the first step to healing your unhealthy attachment style, if you happen to have one. It's making that secure relationship with your therapist. So guys, this is it. This is all that I wanted to talk about in this video. I actually plan to make 2 more videos on this topic because there are too much information, and I don't want this video to be too long. The next video will be dedicated to attachment and self-love. So it will be about your attachment style and relationship with yourself. And in the third video, I will give you my tips on how to heal your unhealthy attachment style. Something that has worked for me and that I have found helpful, because I'm not among the lucky ones having secure attachment style, so I need to work myself a lot, and I'm still doing that. Okay guys, I truly hope that you found this video useful and that you could have some helpful insights because of that. If you did, please subscribe and like this video. And I would also like to mention that I do offer private tarot readings. So go ahead and take a look at the description box below. I will give you all the details you need to know to contact me personally for a reading. I would really love to connect with you guys on a more personal level. Okay, then see you in my next video. Bye bye.